So the Colonial Pipeline ransomware breach was 100% preventable. And it's quite a few different things that were missed that we find to be, what should be in everyone's best practice and what all organizations should be deploying. And so it's really unfortunate to know that, such a mission critical component of our country was kind of left with lackluster protection, and that all of what happened was able to happen because they didn't put these practices in place. The news has come out that it was a single password, a VPN account that the bad guys then had access to the Colonial Pipeline network, thereby holding the company ransom, being able to deploy that ransomware, getting access, being able to deploy that ransomware, then hold the company kind of hostage. In reaction to all this, the company made the decision to actually shut down the pipeline for a period of time, and then to also pay the something of $4 million ransomware payment to the bad guys to kind of get things turned back on. And it was a shared VPN account is what they had said, and it makes us think that maybe that was a former employee or what should have been a disabled account, unfortunately. There was no talk of multi-factor authentication, which, if the bad guys had the password, if MFA or 2FA was turned on, they still wouldn't have been able to access the network. And then on top of all that, it was a password that had formerly been breached and was available on the dark web. So a simple monitor, a simple, again, best practices of not reusing passwords. Again, any one of these different things could have prevented this incident from happening. And then in my opinion, I think there was a few other areas of interest that it wasn't exactly clear and they didn't fully admit, but leads me to believe that the mission critical infrastructure of the pipeline was not segmented or in a different network or a different environment than the business at hand of Colonial Pipeline, because in my opinion, those two things should be very much separated, right? And then we wouldn't have had the need to shut down the pipeline. Backup and disaster recovery, always, I always question, why are we paying these ransoms if we have wonderful backup and disaster recovery systems in place? And then another one of my questions was, how could that ransomware have been deployed if, Colonial had come out and said we had 20 different layers of cyber and we did this and we did that. I'm still questioning how the ransomware infected their network, unless this account had administrative privilege, right? And so, in our world and the way we do things, we hold every account to the least necessary privilege versus, people are admins or have higher level access than they really need to. In my opinion, then the ransomware would have never been able to deploy because they had depth of defense, right? Different layers of security, and they didn't have administrative credentials, but it would seem in this case that they might have. So again, a lot of different missteps here, a lot of different hurdles that we normally put in place for not only ourselves, but our clients that would have prevented this Colonial Pipeline ransomware breach.